Something kills more humans every year than every war currently being fought on this planet. More than famine, more than every shark, snake, lion, and crocodile on Earth combined. It has no claws, no venom, no size advantage of any kind. It weighs less than a single raindrop. And at this exact moment, there are almost certainly several of them within 20 feet of wherever you are sitting. The mosquito has killed more human beings than any other creature in the history of our species. And the part that should genuinely concern you is not just the number of people it kills every year. It is the fact that it is actively expanding into new regions, carrying new diseases, moving into territories where it has never been recorded before. And the tools we have built to stop it are losing ground. Most people hear the word mosquito and think of an inconvenience, an itchy ankle at a summer gathering, a sound in the dark that interrupts sleep. That mental category, minor irritant, is one of the most dangerous misclassifications in the history of public health. Mosquitoes are responsible for approximately 750,000 human deaths every single year. To put that number in context, sharks kill roughly 10 people annually. Hippos, which are genuinely aggressive and physically formidable, kill around 500. Mosquitoes kill 750,000 every year, consistently, with the reliability of a calendar event. And that figure is almost certainly an undercount, because in regions with limited medical infrastructure, deaths from mosquito-borne disease are frequently never recorded at all. The death count, however, is only the surface of the problem. Hundreds of millions more people are infected each year and survive. But survival does not always mean recovery. Children who survive cerebral malaria frequently sustain lasting neurological damage. Certain mosquito-borne infections leave survivors with chronic joint pain that persists for years. Some parasites transmitted by mosquitoes do not kill quickly. They dismantle the body slowly, over months or years, in ways that never fully resolve. The suffering beneath the mortality number is vast, and largely invisible to the people living outside the regions where mosquitoes operate at full force. The mosquito is not a predator in the way we conventionally understand predators. It is not pursuing you out of aggression or hunger. Male mosquitoes do not bite at all. They feed entirely on plant nectar and never interact with human blood. The ones targeting you are exclusively female, and they are not after your blood as a source of nutrition. They require the proteins in blood to develop their eggs. Every bite is a reproductive act. You are not being attacked. You are being used. When a female mosquito pierces the skin, she injects a small amount of her own saliva before drawing blood. That saliva contains anticoagulants, compounds that prevent clotting so she can feed without interruption. But the saliva is also the delivery system for everything she has been carrying. If she fed on an infected host before she reached you, whatever pathogen was living in that host is now entering your bloodstream. The mosquito herself remains completely unaffected. She is not sick. She has no symptoms. She is a biological syringe with wings, flying between hosts, immune to the diseases she is distributing. The most lethal of those diseases is malaria. It is caused by a parasite called Plasmodium, and it is among the oldest, most persistent, and most adaptable killers in recorded human history. Ancient Egyptian medical texts describe its symptoms. DNA from the parasite has been found in mosquitoes preserved in fossilized amber. It likely contributed to the collapse of the Roman Empire, killing soldiers and civilians faster than any opposing army. Alexander the Great almost certainly died from it. Genghis Khan's campaigns were reportedly slowed by it. For most of human history, malaria was not simply a disease. It was a force that determined where civilizations could and could not survive. When an infected mosquito bites you, Plasmodium enters the bloodstream and travels immediately to the liver, where it multiplies silently for 1 to 2 weeks. You feel nothing. No fever, no warning, no sign that anything has happened. Then it erupts into the blood cells, destroying them in waves. Fever spikes to dangerous levels, severe chills, intense headache. In the worst cases, the parasite crosses the blood-brain barrier and causes cerebral malaria, a condition with a fatality rate of up to 25%, even with modern treatment. Without treatment, it approaches 100%. Malaria still kills over 600,000 people every year. The majority of them are children under the age of 5. The approved vaccine has an efficacy of around 30 to 40%, a number that reflects not a failure of medical science, but the extraordinary sophistication of a parasite that has been evolving alongside human immune systems for millennia. Every time a drug treatment becomes standard, the parasite eventually develops resistance to it. Chloroquine was once considered a near-complete solution. It is now ineffective against large portions of the global Plasmodium population. The same pattern has repeated with multiple successor treatments. Malaria is one item on a much longer list. Dengue fever infects an estimated 400 million people per year. In 2024, more than 14 million dengue cases were reported globally, the largest number ever recorded in a single year, with close to 10,000 deaths. Dengue earns the name breakbone fever from its signature, severe joint and muscle pain so intense that patients describe feeling as though their bones are fracturing from the inside. Most people survive a first infection. A second infection with a different strain of the same virus is frequently more dangerous than the first. The immune system, having recognized dengue before, responds with an overreaction that causes blood vessel walls to leak, leading to internal bleeding and organ failure. The body's own defense mechanism becomes the instrument of harm. Zika virus became a global emergency in 2015 and 2016. In most adults, it produces only mild symptoms. In pregnant women, it crosses the placenta and attacks the developing brain of the fetus, causing microcephaly. Children born with severely underdeveloped neurological architecture. An entire cohort of children in parts of Brazil were permanently affected. Health authorities in multiple countries advised women in affected regions to delay pregnancy entirely. Not because of what the virus would do to the mother, but because of what the mosquito carrying it would do to children not yet born. Beyond these are West Nile virus, yellow fever, chikungunya, and lymphatic filariasis, a parasitic infection that causes the catastrophic permanent swelling of limbs known as elephantiasis. The mosquito is not carrying one weapon, it is carrying an arsenal, and it rotates between them depending on what it has recently fed on. So why, given all of this, have we not eliminated them? There are approximately 110 trillion mosquitoes on Earth at any given moment. That is roughly 14,000 mosquitoes for every human alive. They exist on every continent except Antarctica. They breed in the water that collects inside a discarded bottle cap. A single female can lay up to 300 eggs at a time, and those eggs can hatch within 48 hours. This is not a pest control problem. It is a logistical scale that is genuinely difficult to conceptualize. Mosquitoes have existed for over 100 million years. They survived whatever event eliminated the dinosaurs. They have adapted to every climate, every terrain, and every chemical intervention human civilization has developed. DDT was deployed across entire nations in the mid-20th century and produced dramatic short-term reductions in mosquito populations. Then resistance developed, and DDT's catastrophic effects on other wildlife and on human health made it one of the most damaging environmental interventions in modern history. The same pattern has repeated with nearly every insecticide developed since. Kill 99% of a mosquito population, and the 1% that survives carries natural resistance. Those survivors breed. Within a few generations, the entire local population carries the resistance gene. We have been in this arms race for over a century, and we are not winning it. The ecological argument against total elimination is also real. Mosquitoes serve as food sources for birds, bats, fish, and other insects. In Arctic tundra, they represent the primary food source for migratory bird species during summer months. Some plant species are pollinated by them. Removing them entirely, assuming it were even possible, would not leave a clean gap. It would leave a disruption with consequences that are genuinely unpredictable. Two approaches currently show real promise. Oxitec, a British biotechnology company, has been releasing genetically modified male mosquitoes into wild populations. These males carry a gene that causes their offspring to die before reaching reproductive maturity because only females bite. Releasing self-limiting males does not increase the biting population, but it does crash local numbers. Field trials in parts of Brazil and the Florida Keys have demonstrated significant reductions in Aedes aegypti populations, the primary vector for dengue, Zika, and yellow fever. The ethical debate around deliberately releasing genetically modified organisms into wild ecosystems at scale is ongoing and legitimate. Supporters note that inaction kills 750,000 people per year. That calculation does not resolve easily. The second approach involves a naturally occurring bacterium called Wolbachia. When introduced into mosquito populations, certain Wolbachia strains dramatically reduce the mosquito's ability to carry and transmit dengue and Zika. Because Wolbachia spreads through reproduction, once it establishes itself in a local population, it tends to persist without continued human intervention. Field deployments in Australia, Colombia, and parts of Southeast Asia have shown reductions in dengue cases of up to 77% in treated areas. It is the most promising development in mosquito control in decades. But here is the part that changes the scale of this problem entirely. Climate change is expanding the territory where mosquitoes can survive and breed, and it is doing so faster than any control effort can follow. Aedes aegypti, the primary carrier of dengue, Zika, and yellow fever, has been recorded in parts of Europe where it had never previously been detected. In 2025, West Nile virus spread across 14 countries in Europe, with Italy alone recording 718 human cases and 49 deaths in a single season. Between 2024 and 2025, chikungunya surged across 40 countries, driven by the expanding range of Aedes mosquitoes into regions with no prior immunity and no established surveillance. The WHO projects that by 2080, an additional 1 billion people could be exposed to mosquito-borne diseases as a direct result of climate-driven habitat expansion. That is not a worst-case projection. It is a realistic modeling estimate based on current warming trajectories. The mosquitoes moving into these new regions are not just bringing the diseases already known in tropical zones. As their range expands, they interact with new animal populations, birds, rodents, livestock, that carry pathogens they have not previously transmitted to humans. The possibility of new mosquito-borne diseases emerging from these novel interactions is not theoretical. It is a recognized risk that epidemiologists are actively monitoring. The animal that interrupts, sleep with a high-pitched whine, and leaves a welt that fades in a day, has killed, by the most carefully considered historical estimates, approximately half of every human being who has ever lived on this planet. It has stopped military campaigns, redirected trade routes, collapsed civilizations, and determined which regions of the Earth human populations could permanently inhabit. It has done all of this without intelligence, without strategy, without any awareness of the consequences of what it does. It is running entirely on biology, seeking warmth, seeking blood, seeking a place to lay eggs. That is what makes it the most dangerous animal in the history of life on this planet. Not malice, not size, not strength, just a set of biological drives that happen to interface catastrophically with human vulnerability. The next time one lands on your arm, before you react, you are looking at the single most consequential creature in the history of human civilization. Then kill it.